Glück auf. Ich möchte mich herzlich bedanken, dass wir die Gelegenheit haben, einen Vortrag halten zu dürfen bei dem Siemens CIS Digital Summit November 2021. Weil der Summit international ist, würde ich nach dem Glück auf alles auf Englisch sagen. Ja? I'm very flattered and I'm very grateful to Siemens to give us the opportunity, myself and my colleagues and PM Lucas, to present our visions of technology innovations. We chose a very hot topic, and the topic is ESG-driven technology innovations. This means environment, social, and governance. Before I talk about this very hot topic today, I would like to introduce myself. I'm 57-year-old. I have 43 years experience in the oil and gas industry. When you look at me, you ask me, how is it possible? This guy is not 100 years old. The fact is that we moved from Germany to Libya 43 years ago, and I joined the oil company school in Libya, the American Oil Company School in Libya. It was a prime school of Mobil, Occidental Oil, Wintershall, Feba, all the service companies, Schlumberger, Halliburton. I grew up in the industry in the Libyan desert. And since then, the oil industry was always the center of my life. I have a PhD from the Montaigne University Leoben. This is why I say to my colleagues, Glück auf. And I'm a student of Professor Dr. Zoltan Heinemann. I was also a co-developer of the Shore Reservoir Simulator. My first career started as a technology and development director of Rig Design Services in London, which was the prime design company for offshore drilling rigs, drill ships at that time in the world. And they are now the KCA Deutag engineering company. I'm a founder, owner, and managing director of PM Lucas for more than 24 years. And this is my baby. So my favorite writer is Stefan Zweig. And I always liked the way he starts a topic with a statement. And my statement is, I believe and we believe in the future of the hydrocarbon, natural gas, and hydrogen as the base for our civilization. However, we know that the environment is impacted by hydrocarbon-based emissions. Hydrocarbons are too valuable to be flared, burned, and vented. We must reach net zero emissions for a prosperous and safe future. Therefore, we have to control our emissions. I will tell a little bit about PM Lucas. Yeah? PM Lucas is an integrated surface subsurface technology company, and our expertise is a track record of over 1,000 projects. We did over $1 billion worth of work, 500 million engineering and consulting, and 500 of execution. And it was mainly the complete domain cycle of the upstream energy industry where we were integrating the projects. But however, in order to protect the future, we have to become a leading-edge energy technology solutions company to help our clients meet the needs of today. And this is net zero in the future. When I physically look at a very hot topic today, and this is the COP26, the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference. And who, when, and where is it being done? It is being done in Glasgow. We have over 200 countries, NOGs, world leaders meeting now on the 31st of October till the 12th of December with one objective: how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, how to reach net zero by mid-century and keep the 1.5 degrees centigrade within reach, how to protect communities and natural habitats, how to mobilize finance, and how to work together to save this planet. Greta Thunberg said, we can have as many COPs as we want, but nothing real will come out of it. It makes me think. I'm 57-year-old and I have children who are her age. What is the focus on the conference? Is to accelerate the phase out of coal, which is very, very important, to curtail deforestation. We're burning and destroying our habitat. To speed up the switch to electrical vehicles, to encourage investment in renewables, and possibly, and this worries me, possibly pledged by dozens of countries to cut emissions of methane. 62 years ago, 1959, there was one gentleman, Edward Teller, on an oil conference. And I will quote him. "Whenever you burn conventional fuel, you create carbon dioxide. Its presence in the atmosphere causes greenhouse gas effects. If the world kept using fossil fuels, the ice caps would begin to melt, raise the sea levels. Eventually, the coastal cities would be covered." This was 62 years ago. What happened till now? Not much. What do we have today? May 21, Exxon. An activist hedge fund succeeds in nominating climate-friendly directors to the energy giants board. May 21, the Dutch court orders Royal Dutch Shell to reduce its worldwide CO2 emissions by 45% 2030. October 21, a hedge fund is suggesting to break up Shell. October 21, top executives of major Western oil companies are to testify before the US Congress amid accusations that they misled the public about climate change. October 21, US poll says 70% global warming is happening. They recognize it. More than 60% of the poll in the United States believe that the oil companies and the gas companies are completely or mostly responsible. This is what we have now. And this worries me very much because I love the oil and gas industry. And I believe that we can fix it. I believe that there is a future in the oil and gas industry. And I believe that we have responsibility towards the society and environment. I believe that the oil and gas industry has the best engineers in the world and that we can do it. Because in October 21, the UN said, despite increased climate ambition and net zero commitments, governments still plan to produce more than double the amount of energy from fossil fuels in 2030 than the amount that would limit global warming to the Paris Agreement level of 1.5 degrees centigrade. To make things even hotter, as of today, 3,826 signatories of the United Nations supported Principle of Responsible Investment, PRI, in support of UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, who represent $121 trillion. You hear it right. $121 trillion asset under management. They are requesting something is done. And we need between $50 to $70 trillion to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Goals by 2030. Then we need another $30 to $60 trillion by 2050 to get which is approximately 1.5% of global domestic product per year to achieve these goals. But we can also state, and if people tell you that it is not so, complete replacement of hydrocarbons as a source of energy in the short and medium term is not feasible. It is not feasible at all. Therefore, it is the imperative that the industry stops the business as usual and achieves net zero. And I will repeat again, I believe that we in the oil industry can do it. I'm an oil man. I will not talk about the farming industry because I'm not a farmer. And I will talk about the oil industry. First of all, which is agreed to, that 42% of all the global greenhouse gas emissions are generated by the oil and gas industry. Disagreed. We can also state that the oil and gas majors have lost $2.2 trillion of market cap because before COVID-19 because of these issues. We also know, as I have said, that $50 to $70 trillion investments are required. In order to achieve net zero emissions, we have to target 100% efficiency in the industry. Taking the oil industry part, we have the upstream, we have the middle and downstream. In the upstream, which is the production, exploration of oil and gas, we have about over 11% greenhouse emissions. In the transport of the crude, just under 1%. In refining, approximately 6%. In the product transport is 0.6%. 0.5%, and the majority of it is in the indirect, in the combustion of our products. Where is the problem and how to fix the problem? First of all, I would like to make a statement. I believe that hydrocarbons are a gift of God and not the cause and the curse of the devil. I believe that hydrocarbon molecules are too valuable and they should neither be lost nor they should be wasted. And what we have to do is we have to reduce the emissions along the complete value chain to conserve hydrocarbons to the end user. The vision is to take net zero along value chain in the life cycle, from scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 to the end user, where we can sustain the emission reduction with carbon capture, hydrogen, and renewables. So for people who don't know what is scope 1, scope 1 is the direct. These are emissions which come from operations that are owned or controlled by the reporting company. Scope 2 is indirect emissions from generation of purchased or acquired electricity, steam, heating, cooling, consumption, reporting of the company. Scope 3 is the indirect emissions, which is not scope 2, that occur in the value chain reporting company, including the upstream and downstream. It is actually the consumer who is burning it in their cars. What did we do? We looked at a problem, and we as a company were an integrator, subsurface to surface. We have to get out of the silos. We have to integrate every knowledge we have to get efficiency. If I take the emissions and I take the McKinsey report, which looks at a 100-year time scale, it's scary because the 12% is the flaring, which is CO2. 20% is drilling and operations, which is also CO2. But 64% is fugitive emissions, which is methane. However, if we shrink it from 100 years down to 20 years, which is in our interest, then the methane is not 25 or 28 times as bad as CO2 emissions. They're 85, 86 times worse than CO2 emissions, which actually shrinks and shows the picture completely different. Now, when you take this methane, which you flare and lose and vent, and you use it to put it on the market where it belongs to, it could maybe finance us to stop the fugitive emissions. So what does it mean? It means that we have to, number one, look what are the emission sources. It is the flaring, the drilling, and the fugitive emissions. The solutions are technology, integration, and digitalizations. We have to get digital leadership. This means collect, control, and convert our data into decisions, enhance monitoring, analysis, engineering, operations through digitalization. We have to boost the efficiency to lower environment impact, reduce the liability, and grow the value of our assets. We have to understand the very, very complex physical and chemical processes and trace every single molecule from the reservoir to the market. And like this, we are going to control our emissions and as such protect our future. How do we see this? We have a problem. The problem is climate change, its environment, and the impact of the complete society. We are basically destroying our environment. The gas and oil industry generates 42% of global greenhouse gases, of which 20% are scope 1 under the direct control. Upstream, 40% of industry scope 1. Environment, social, and governance, ESG, focus investors are becoming dominantly aware that the climate goals have to be achieved. $2.2 trillion market cap was lost by the majors before COVID-19. And no investment in fossil fuel industries will happen where there is no clear ESG and sustainability agenda. And this is a fact. How do we see it in PM Lucas? In PM Lucas, we see carbon accounting solutions. We see it through GHG, emissions management. This means you have to do monitoring, you have to do reporting, verifications, and when you have that, you do mitigation. And this can be only achieved through complete, proper, integrated digitalization. We, as Lucas, are doing a lot of research in sustainable net zero life cycle schematics, and you can see here quite an interesting little slide, which is live. And we have already a full understanding of the cycle, how we are going to produce the hydrocarbons, how we're going to capture the CO2, how we are going to mitigate that there is no methane and other emissions, and how are we going to integrate our wonderful industry with the sustainable industry, which is photovoltaic, wind, and all the other energies were there. And which is also very, very important today, which we did not have in the past, which is going to get better and better and more sophisticated in the future. This is satellite monitoring. Satellite monitoring is becoming the standard of quantification and reporting of methane emissions. Satellite data analytics will enable us to have total emission quantification across the entire oil and gas basins. Furthermore, they're also going to show who are the super emitters and detect them and report on them. We have the next future, and this is the future where we see as PM Lucas, and this is carbon capture. This is hydrogen underground storage. And we believe in the green hydrogen, and we also believe that the green hydrogen is based on renewable intermittent energy sources. We believe that we need to compensate supply and demand fluctuations. The produced hydrogen has to be stored in geological structures. We in the oil industry know how to do this. It's our daily bread and butter. This is absolutely no problem for us to do this. Yeah, the reservoir rock in combination with in situ bacteria can act as a bioreactor for producing green methane. The ingredients are injected CO2 and hydrogen. The underground storage of hydrogen and biomethanization, usually neglected processes such as diffusion, dispersion, must be considered in assessing a long-term impact of safety and economic aspects. And we in PM Lucas are doing now research and PhD work on that. In addition to this, we are doing R&D work in geothermal energy utilization, which is for us in the oil and gas industry very simple and straightforward. We have initiated a series of doctorate thesis topics together with the Montana University Leoben and the Texas A&M University, and are getting absolutely phenomenal results from our young, creative, and committed students. So now the question comes, where does Siemens fit into this? Where does Siemens fit into this? Siemens, who is Siemens? Siemens is a technology company formed for industry, infrastructure, transport, and healthcare. This is what it says. Siemens is for us not that. Siemens is for us more than that. Siemens is for us a 175 years success story of a company and people who have created this company. Siemens is for us the absolute leader in industrial automatization, and Siemens has a unique approach to life cycle asset management, which we have not seen by any other company in industry now. Siemens is the second biggest software company currently in Europe, and Siemens has 25,000 developers to support it. Let us go a little bit deeper. Here is quite an interesting thing to see, is we have here at the bottom the industrial know-how, the domain know-how, the financial know-how to the client. And this is the driving customer value. At the bottom, which is the foundation of the pyramid, the stronger the foundation, the stronger and the higher the pyramid. So you have the Siemens with industrial automatization, which is superb. They have their life cycle asset management. In between is us, who know the domain know-how, we know development, operations, we know how to digitalize and integrate data in the oil industry. And then we have financial know-how on top, SAP and similar companies, yeah. I'm mentioning SAP because SAP is an industrial dominant company there. And they do forecasting analysis. And then all this information has to feed in to the client to have efficiency optimization. But the decision and information has to go to the very top. To the very, very top. What is Siemens providing to us, yeah, with the industrial know-how? They give us how to store data, how to collect data, how to account data, how to plan data, how to manage data. We can digitalize the data, which is in the domain, from geology, reservoir, drilling, production, to the facility engineering. We can integrate it, we can process it, we can analyze it, we can operate, we can report on it. And then we can pass it on to the financial know-how to store, control, process capture. We have quite a complicated picture here, and this is to show you what the data looks like. You have us in the middle with the domain know-how, with all the industry-proven tools. On the right, we have Siemens with PCS 7 and Simatic and the other tools like MindSphere, Comos, and they give us the operational efficiency, which is essential to reach net zero. Then this information has to go into the financial efficiency, but there is also a lot of other data which is not recorded. This is expert data, this is drilling data, mud logging data, coring data, seismic data, this is wireline logging data, artificial data, which we understand, which we also want to integrate there. And then there is operational data, and there is also other data from laboratories and so on, which is not accounted to. All this needs to be integrated into one in order to achieve absolute efficiency. Now, where does Lucas physically come in? We as originally our background is reservoir engineering. And we understand reservoirs. We understand reservoir simulation. And we all agree that it's important to take every molecule from the reservoir into the facility, from this facility to the market. And we need to take a complete control on this. So what we have done, we have managed to connect reservoir simulation at a molecular level. We take every molecule from the reservoir, we pass it in to the facility, we calculate what will happen, we measure what is happening, what is being burned as fuel gas, which is being flared, which is being sold onto the market, and which is being unaccounted for, which are fugitive emissions. We have taken the reservoir and coupled the reservoir and the process models, and we have integrated this into the Siemens platforms. We are using the data because all the emissions and pollutions are coming from the facility. We are using Siemens data, which we're getting to microseconds. We are connecting this with our reservoir simulations, and we are giving everything life. We are following nitrogen, CO2, H2S, methane, ethane, propane, butane. We are following everything from the reservoir, from every well, from every perforation level into the facility. In the facility, we can monitor every pump, every compressor, every heater, every valve with the help of Siemens. And then we have full control on the facility. Now, to make these things even better, is we can connect this to multiple reservoirs, to multiple facilities, and integrate them all into one. What do we have? We have here the PM Lucas ESG system. We take the subsurface modeling, we integrate it. We have the vertical lift, what happens in the well, we integrate it. We take and tie it into the process modeling, which can be HYSYS, VMG Sim, or whatever. And then we're utilizing the Siemens XHQ platform for our reporting. And then as an output, we have dashboards, we have alerts, we have reporting applications, and whatever we want and need. Here, I can show you one of our reporting systems. You have here a GHG emission management system reporting sample. It's a greenhouse emission summary, which is done in real time. We have CO2 emissions equivalents by facility. It is the camp, it is the BKNS, it is every facility there. We can go down to every part of it, every boiler, every compressor, and we can calculate how much CO2, we can measure how much CO2, how much N2O, and how much methane is being lost there. And we can report it. We are utilizing the Siemens XHQ platform for our reporting. Why is it so good? It's an old platform. It is not an old platform. It is industry-proven version. This is what we need in the industry. In the oil and gas industry, we want reliable products. And we have used it, and we are making a complete automated reporting portal. We provide any information from the geology, from the production, from what reservoir, from what well, from what zone, how much is being produced, was produced in the past, and will be produced in the future in a time frame where you can make proper management decisions. We can control every valve, we can control every well, we can control every bullet, we can control every tank, and we have any type of report you want. And this, we integrate our data together with Siemens data into the Siemens platforms. We, of course, have developed also the drilling and workover automated reporting portal. But this is something I will leave to the younger people who have questions to show you what we have. Now, to make things even more excited, we have a little film where we can show you one part of the facility, which is modeled in Como's walk inside. Now, what makes this different? It's a huge facility. We have every piece of data in it, of every valve, of every pipe, of every compressor. But it is also tied with HYSYS. The HYSYS is tied to the reservoir. The reservoir is giving every molecule into HYSYS. It is feeding it into Comos, and we can look and control everything on this platform with Siemens. Our integration with plant side is giving it a complete different level. We together are working and developing new tools and new visions how to assist our industry to be successful in the future. Thank you very much. And as Stefan Zweig always ends his story with a statement, I would like to make the statement again, is we believe in the future of the hydrocarbons, natural gas, and hydrogen as the base of our civilization. We know that the environment is impacted by hydrocarbon-based emissions. We also know that hydrocarbons are too valuable to be flared and burned and vented. We know that we must reach net zero emissions for a press safe future. We, and I as an oilman, believe in my industry, but I also know that we need to control emissions. Thank you very much.